Welcome back, Armchair Generals. This is Gamer1745 here, playing Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8 and Third Reich events. Hope things are going well with you. We're going to continue our preparations. No, Siam, no. Okay. Let's see, we need some more rare materials as well. Hungary may be willing to sell us some. No. Finland, no. Yes. Not going to try to pronounce it. I almost did, but now I'm going to keep from doing that. Infantry divisions. Okay, let's see. Really love this, the Becker event chain dealing with the 227th Division. Really well done. I think it's a great immersion element to it. This is just starting off, so yes, we want this division. Luftwaffe maneuvers, another event from George 1941. August 1st, 1939, in northern Germany begins a 3-day maneuvers. The Luftwaffe headed by Helmut Helm. Hopefully I didn't pronounce it correctly. This can help train pilots, ground crews, and help develop tactics. Yes, it will. So we can hold the maneuvers. This is, a historical of what happened. We can hold the maneuvers. Cost us 500 supplies. No need. I think if you endlessly purely throw supplies at the problem, it doesn't, shouldn't, maybe I should say, shouldn't replace, you know, leadership, if you will, training as this game mechanic. But I do think you should be able to throw some supplies at it, some grand maneuvers that give you bonuses, and I think this is a great event. Yeah. Okay, this is sort of one of the first ones of what I've been waiting for. Once we get a bunch of these, then I'm going to do one or more episodes at little or no time on the clock. Then I'm going to reorganize the army. All these units I just sort of left in place here. I got a bunch of armored units which aren't attached to anything. They would be eating less supplies if I attached them to a right HQ thing. I just haven't done that, mostly because I didn't want to do it and redo it. But this says General Gunther von Klug. His command. So we will get a bunch of these historical units. Oh, it's way over here. Okay, he's there. Good. A little bit over here. Divisional headquarters are left over. Okay, the U.S. Money, we have extra money. Okay. Romania. Should have come to me earlier, Romania. So I'm gonna pick you. Okay, the brown brown ribbon. This is the start of the brown ribbon horse race series, if you will. It was again started by SS Brigade Führer Weber. This year he had to cut back on the Munich festivities, and it was only holding the horse races. I did look into this to see if they did the other elements, and they didn't. So lose a little descent, 25 supplies, gain descent if we don't. Let's do it. Okay. This is the last one currently in Third Reich events. Last event dealing with the Graf von Zeppelin II spy trip. What they did was, obviously, as we've talked about before, this is a picture of the Graf von Zeppelin. Not sure if that's inside it or just some other radio. But what they did was, obviously they weren't going to be using this as a commercial transportation ship anymore because of, going boomy in the sky with your, passengers is not a good idea. So I think part of it was figure out what to do with the thing now that they built it, but also it allowed something that you can't readily do with aircraft, is loiter, hang about, move around slowly over fairly long distances. What they did do is, and you can read the thing, is they took a long trip out here, and the goal was to secretly collect information about the British chain home radar. Unlike some documentaries that I've seen in the past, and yeah, some of them date back to like the 1970s, it seems like a long time ago to many of you, they made statements that the Germans didn't even know what the radar towers were and didn't think that they were defensive systems, or that they were some sort of scaffolding for spotters or something. No, the Germans knew what it was. They just didn't understand the impact, is how I would say it, until the Battle of Britain. Until the idea that with the radar, they could vector all available aircraft, both in the air and on the ground, to the incoming targets, and be able to have them, if you will, on the ground, waiting and knowing, ready to scramble, so that they don't happen to be in the air. So the Germans did overestimate the amount of air. They didn't know that the radar did have some effect, but they figured that there was like 3 times as much air, because, hey, you're only going to have like 1/3 of it up at any one time to be able to intercept the fast bombers coming in. And sure, the radar is helping you get on target a little bit better, but it isn't, they didn't see it as such a big thing. They figured it out. I mean, it wasn't that they didn't have any idea, but they, forever. Now, they figured it out, and obviously they started using radar more and more. But they knew what it was back here in 39. And so they set up this this trip to go out, go close on the British coast, but staying outside. I don't think Britain wanted the flying bomb flying over their country. And they just carried a bunch of instruments. They say 28 personnel were engaged with the measurements. They set up a bunch of instruments to, as they flew up along the coast, to measure what sort of signals the radar was sending out. Frequencies, I'm sure, was part of it, because that's a big, long wave, short wave frequencies for various radars. Trying to maybe presumably figure out effective ranges, how strong the signal strength is. All that type of information they attempted to collect, and as they say, they went up to the Shetlands and back. The problem was the airship captain didn't cooperate with the program. He insisted that he needed to have his radio on all the time and listening for communications, if you will. So basically it messed up some, most, all, I don't know, of the results. He wouldn't go radio silence and dark and just shut it down and just do the measuring, because radio wasn't then, and still today, I guess, isn't a precise thing where you can know exactly, they're only using these bands and it doesn't affect anything else. And they were trying to go for the most sensitivity that they could do with their measurements. So he did not, because he was the captain and he's in charge, he didn't go radio dark for much or all of the trip, which is what he needed to do to be able to even remotely start collecting the information they wanted to do so accurately. I'm not saying they didn't get information. I'm not saying all of it was not useful, but it wasn't an accurate situation, even with the limited instruments that they carried to record it and figure out what they were doing. So basically it was somewhat wasted trip, and that, I think, did contribute to German misunderstanding, because even some of the instrument people that were trying to do it requested or stated that they needed to have all the radios turned off, and they were told no, obviously no, we're going to have it on for the safety of the vessel, or whatever the reasons were claimed. And so that, I think, when they were, out further along the coast or whatever, they didn't effectively pick up some of the signals because of the radar situation, so they misunderstood the data, if you will, and its effective ranges. And so I think a lot of what they thought with the chain home radar and some of the other stuff is that it would pick them up locally, but not like as they formed up over the channel. And I'm far from sure, well, they couldn't look into Germany. I know that, at least not in the early days of this, with the radar. But once you got the basing here, I think they could see them, with the more forward observing radars. I think they could see them as they formed up into groups over this parts of France, these parts of France here, before they were going over. Or if they were coming some other path, they would pick them up out here, you know, far enough out so that they could scramble the aircraft. I think the Germans really perceived, and obviously this is a bit extended here for useful practical purposes of function of the map. It's overextended, obviously, because it's more like, you know, this close. I think within the relations here at its narrowest, and like these islands are way too huge, of course. But I think it was really, they thought it was much more of a local phenomenon, and I think it's partially due to this study. And there may have also been an issue with the engines, that people wanted the engines turned off as well, for, you know, obviously they can't go up all along the coast without engines, but for maneuvering purposes or others, the captain refused to do that, because you want to get, because engines, to my knowledge, do generate some sort of electrical interference, and they were looking for the most minor variations and things. So that's sort of the last, this is the last event I have. I'm sure I saw it. I thought I saved it, but I've looked and I can't find it. Was so if any of you guys out there want to do, and I've looked for it, you know, Googled it up, and I found it at one time, was a photograph of a person in the Zeppelin, you know, by this time the Zeppelin Corps, and if you notice the patch is still the sort of old style patch. That's a modern replica of it, but they were much more of a sort of a military organization under the Luftwaffe. Showed one of the people in the sort of Zeppelin Luftwaffe uniform cutting up the frame of the Graf Zeppelin 2 for recycling at the start of the war, because that's what happened to the Zeppelin, and because it was filled with rare materials, and they realized it wasn't going to be like the First World War where you could effectively bomb with it. I've thought about, for one of my possible mods for what now is looking Hearts of Iron 4, set up like secret missions to the pole with the Graf Zeppelin 2, or secret long-range missions to Tibet, that they keep, you'd have the opportunity to keep the Graf Zeppelin 2, and maybe build others, but at least that one in service, because it could easily, you know, get out here and just, you know, fly high altitudes at night. And since most of this, or all of this, didn't have radar coverage, you just had to go up high and try to avoid things, and so that you could have German commando units or something appear in Tibet or in Afghanistan or some other place like that. So some cool things I've thought to do with in sort of a, and I know a bunch of guys really like this series because it's of its historical basis. This mod I'm looking at making is based in history, but has, shall we say, some plausible, and I really want to try to stress that I think plausible but historical fictitious elements to it. So it's sort of a history, but sort of what if, you know, kind of thing. And so it's something I'm looking to make at some point. But, you know, you can see, you know, the various Indiana Jones-ish type adventures that I might have set up for a Hearts of Iron 4 mod. No, I'm not going to go into the intellectual property of Indiana Jones, not anywhere near it, but it just, you get the point of is what I'm talking about. Okay, the 8th Army, Dresden, the first service participated in every fighting battle. Down over here, is it? Yeah, right there. Okay, another event by George, 1941. As you can see, he does get credited as sort of one of the major contributors to Third Reich events. He done a lot of work and he did a lot of research for some of the stuff that I was doing, as well as providing his own events that I incorporated into the mod. Okay, now this is sort of somewhat before its time. And that it should probably be done different now with 8. I don't know when I'm going to rebuild it, meaning these expanded metal and energy probably should be the new buildings, and not just putting more metal or energy on the map. Obviously, when this was done, we didn't have the new building. So, new factories, sort of based in Bremen and Hamburg, representing built for the import element of it. This is all under Reich Amtleiter Paul Water as appointed Reich Commissioner und Reich Bürgermeister for improving the performance of coal mining as part of Germany's 4-year program. We have limited resources. How big of an investment do we want to put into expanding the mining, or do we want to increase production more? So we can do new factories with some mines, or we can go a lot more into energy and iron. Or we can just do some minor improvements. You need to have the 4-year plan active now. Okay. Energy, Dusseldorf. 25. Metal Dusseldorf. Dusseldorf, sorry. Castle. Or do we want to do a bit more with only a bit of that? Now, obviously all these have costs. The biggest is if we want to do the new factories. I don't give you just things like that for free. Even though it says lose 2 industrial capacities in Hamburg, we can look as we click it, but I'm pretty sure I think it's just a display error. Unfortunately, nothing I can really do about that. Okay. I'm still just thinking here. So we're importing 300 to 350 a day about, and we're over 150 days. So that means we need to import 200 a day still. So we don't yet have the iron ore adjustments from here. Swedish steel trade. And energy, we trade for 132, or over by 100, so we only really need to import right now 30, and that's damn cheap. As long as we have 30 that we can import from somewhere like Italy, we're good there. That's fairly cheap. That 264 is traded for. That is the great element of or the most major element of our cost, because that's basically 250 gold or money or whatever you want to call this. I guess it's called dollars technically, because that's what they have the dollar sign there. So of the traded that we sell supplies to get money is 345, and 264 of it goes to there. So less than 100 and other things, and it obviously does vary from country to country and trade to trade, early trades, newer trades. I realize that, but I'm not a math guy. I'm just going with the basics. Some of the stuff some of the costs we'll lose after the end of the 4-year program, like Reich, Herman, Goering, minus 5% will go away. Other elements will change once the war happens, but manpower is also significant. Yeah, some manpower, no manpower. We'll get 7 metal. We'll get, well, either way, we get 7 or 8 metal here. Actually 9, sorry. Yeah, like I said, I'm not that good with and so it's metals either all in Dusseldorf or yeah, and obviously once we get the 4 additional ICs, which will need more rare materials, particularly to maintain the industrial engine. So you have your choices. If you think your industry is big enough, you can go with a minor one, which obviously the most minor one costs you nearly nothing. See, often I do build in a no, we don't want, but I sort of, as I'm thinking about it, thought, yeah, hey, you're already deciding to have the 4-year program in place, and that's part of it. That minor one is sort of the almost no. And that's what a major element that I've read about the 4-year program and Reich, Herman, Goering particularly was, I forget what rare earth material or whatever it was in one sort of open pit mining situation in Germany. It was something that Germany could use strategically, that was in a particular place, doesn't really matter where in Germany, that you could mine this stuff, and it would almost be profitable mining, because it was sort of a lot of it, but it was intermixed with a lot of other useless dirt basically, or other stuff. So you would have to what am I thinking, the quality, or the percentage of it that you get out for the amount of work was very low compared to other places, and so it's like you would maybe make a 1% profit. Well, if you imported the stuff, and I think I forget what, I don't know if it's bauxite or what, I forget, I'm sorry, but I think in Morocco there was also a similar thing. There was much richer veins of the same stuff, easy to get at, and it was basically cheaper and more effective to just import the stuff, and the amount that you would need to open up this sort of open pit mining, the amount of investment and machinery you would need to do, you'd get like a 1% profitability on the cost to extract it versus what you'd be able to sell it for in Germany, and just none of the industrialists or industries, or however you want to say it, wanted to invest in it, because hey, it's going to be forever for us to get our investment cost out of, and it was just, if the price in the world, somebody else in Mexico or wherever finds a new big bunch of this stuff that could plummet the overall price down, and then you go from something that barely makes a profit to operating it as actually would be at a loss. So that, no industry was willing to touch this. Well, Germany needed the raw material, the rare material, for its war industry. It knew for basically its industry, shall we say, because it was something used in a lot of stuff. And again, I'm not a chemist and production person like that, but it was some element that was very useful and needful in some cases. So the German government knew, and it couldn't necessarily, and even, I guess theoretically could order the companies to, but they weren't quite there, because they needed cooperation from the companies. And they weren't going to quite come out and say, oh, we're going to war that publicly, so we've got to do it for your national spirit. No, they realized, but the government knew that they were planning a war, so they needed the mines or set up and going. So this is why one of the reasons Reich, Werkheim, and Goering was set up as a government-owned and managed and run enterprise versus having the sort of the fascist model that the National Socialists often use in having a private industry that was highly regulated and controlled, both for things like health and safety, as well as for, profiteering, how much profit you can have out of it. And so, you could have a quote-unquote moral amount of profit out of it, whatever that means, 10% or whatever, for within the country. So you get to make a profit, you get to run it, and we'll just oversee it, but you get to do it. That was sort of the fascist model. A profit motive, but controlled profit motive. They couldn't induce any of the companies to do it, so they decided to do it not really in a communist sense, because they weren't, nationalizing industry, but they just set it up as a government-run business to do this. In Germany, they did several of these things, and whether they were profitable or not, it didn't matter, because they needed the strategic resource in a place in which they can get access to it in times of war. So that was sort of expanding the mining and whatever. That's part of what they were doing and why they were doing it. Okay, light bomber prototypes have advanced. That's good. So we're there. Let's do medium bomber. That, and also Germany had at this time, a major cash problem in relations to other foreign currencies. Most countries, they want their own currency back and not some foreign currency. And not every country in the world wanted to buy things made in Germany. So everything that Germany had to buy from a company in Morocco, whether it's rare materials or just raw materials, however you want to look at it, meant that it was a trade deficit situation. And if they could, from the government's point of view, set it up so that they needed fewer imports purely on that economic basis, they saw it as a good thing. That was very much part of their thinking as well. Okay, let's see. Marine HQs have advanced. That's good. I think we're going to stop that now. We'll move over to motorized HQs. This will be. We'll get to Marine HQs. Yes, we want that. Then we'll get to. What I said we got to. This can only get one. You know, it said two, I thought. You guys can roll it back. So let's just very quickly here. At some point we'll attach a leader and we can attach them. And it's not that I'm not going to oh, I think that filled that up. That's why I'm open for two, because we have more than 5. Oh well, okay. Now, we're building some of these Jaeger divisions. do. We're going to build another, basically Panzer Grenadier Division. Yeah, that's what we'll do. I want to build up another armored division here. Yeah, we'll go with a motorized infantry attachment. Yeah, just medium artillery. Cars this time. We will at some point. I want to go back and attach maybe either tank destroyers or heavy AA guns. And the other one I want to attach some engineers to. Let's put this up to 4. Let's move the turrets down. Okay. And let's see about placing a few of these on the map here. You have them upgrading at least. Give them a good offensive commander. That looks good. We'll do these 2 semi-motorized down here. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm talking to myself a little bit here as I'm going down this. Okay, we'll attach him to 300. 473s, 2s. And yes, mostly I'm going over to the, well, significant number, I don't know if quite most, over to the 6 Interceptor model, if you will, but not exclusively. And part of that is part of it maybe just sort of emotion or whatever, but part of it is like this airbase here is set up for 3. Now that's set up for 10, and obviously we could easily put more there. Not everywhere is going to have the infrastructure to get nearby and do a, you know, a full 6 in one base. And also, um, like here, where you want some air, and it doesn't, to overwhelm and defeat the poles generally don't have that much air, and its quality isn't normally should be as, you know, nearly as good as Germany's air. So a, you know, 3 fighter squadrons is normally, you know, in one group is normally plenty to win in that airspace. And even if you're talking in here, most of your engagements can start out with a 3, well, or like a 6, but then bringing in a bunch of 3s in behind it will still be very useful in overwhelming the enemy. Okay, for the moment. Okay, go down here to, no, bomber gun, not Goering, Cooter. Clear Corti. That's our first heavy transport. Okay, we got these are the maybe I should get these ready for Norway. I don't know. Probably don't need them for Norway though. Probably don't need them here either, but that's another idea. Okay, now let's see. We want to sell some supplies, and now's the Soviet Union. Let's see if they want to buy supplies. It's always sort of, to me, a spiraling up effect. Is the more you sell, the more you'll need rare materials, blah, 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 back and forth. What would Japan want? Give them money for fuel. Only because I want to get you on the Axis sooner rather than later. Okay. Yeah, I know it says the 17th Panzer Division, but we're going to stick it right here. Yeah, that says the 11th because what I'm wanting to do is, let's see, the 23rd, yeah. Send that there, and it's going to become the 23rd Panzer Division. Now, seeing Japan there made me want to check that out to see how close they are to the faction. Not that much, but they're way down here. Definitely being mostly influenced towards us. No, we don't have the money because we're buying stupid fuel from Japan. Okay. Bridging equipment. Oh, good. We like that. That's up to 1940 standard. We're gonna go and do assault weapons, which helps us attack fortifications and such. Now I was just looking today around YouTube a bit, and sorry, I forget exactly who it was right now. I'm not going to go look it up. One of the viewers here asked if I was going to do some other series like and it's good division for you, but we're going to do the historical one, like CK2 and EU4. And I sort of said, well, you know, it's sort of been done to death. Basically, sort of my opinion is why I haven't. I really love the EU franchise. I played the hell out of, you know, the original EU, if you want to call it EU1 or whatever you want to call it. I really played that a lot. And I just want to check out speed on this. Okay. 80%. Yeah, we're going at so EU1, and I played a bunch of EU2 and some EU3. Very little. I do have it, but very little EU4. Bought it at one of the sales. That is good. Okay, now instead of 80, it's 85%. So it's the terrain. Planes, yeah, whatever. I think some of this maybe needs to be adjusted better, but I'm not sure. So it does help. I'm just sort of doing a little field test here whether we need to attach truck transports because of the medium artillery there. What's going to stay here? I may change this when I do my reorganization. But I'd like to get at least level 4 skill with an armor to command an armored corps. On Bach, maybe, but I'm thinking he's going to be higher command. And I sort of get back to my original thought here, as I sort of thought that, like you said, it's been done to death, and already some very popular people playing it, and so, you know, to try to stand out, and sort of thought it would be difficult to do those. Well, and, you know, there are some people, but they're normally in the, I don't know, 5,000 or 10,000 subscriber range, people that are playing Hearts of Iron 4 and doing a good job of it. They don't do nearly the historical commentary that I do, but I'm not, you know, they do a good job at playing the game and talking about it. That's for sure. And so I thought I could, you know, relatively well compete against those. Now I've noticed Quill 18 is starting to do Hearts of Iron 4. Just now that the game's about ready to be replaced, he's now starting to play Hearts of Iron 3. He's now doing Hearts of Iron 3 commentary, and yes, I am a little jealous looking at his numbers of getting like 10,000 plus views in a day. Yeah, and I know he has like 250,000 subscribers and whatnot. And he's good at his job at talking and playing, and he does it well. I just wonder, I just saw he was starting the Soviet campaign, and I'll wait to see once he gets the war going to see how well. Because when I watched his Hearts of Iron 4 playing, it was like, ooh, create this big army, and then we're going to send it here to Warsaw, and I'm going to create this other big army, and we're going to send it down to here. We're going to leave all this undefended because, hey, we're not at war at that end. I mean, it was literally sort of, well, I think I don't know, it was Quill 18 or one of the other guys. It was literally sort of what I was seeing with the multiplayer session with Italy, is that they were doing, you know, the army and attack into here, and oh, we don't need defenses along the French. border. The French aren't ever going to attack us, of course. It's a human player, and they're not unpredictable. They're never going to. So, it just silly stuff that is unrealistic in history, and I would say is unrealistic in as a human player thing, because the way they played, and they play it very well. This is not, I don't think they're definitely not stupid guys, the people I was seeing playing, and they definitely know how to play games well. And when I was watching them play EU4, they know how to play it a whole lot better than I do. But that's sort of the way they play it, is they build up these, 18th century or 17th century type armies and have them march in and take provinces. And if somebody else starts attacking them, they've got, because of fortified provinces and other things, they've got sort of all the time in the world. They can come back over here and smash them and whatever. Well, and they were also talking about, as soon as you take the province or the state or whatever, you get all of its resources and all of its stuff, and they're sort of like shocked at this. Well, this is a 20th century world with trains and, modern industrial things, and not a bunch of craftsmen that you got to sort of convince to produce for you and slowly, get changed over. So just their play style, and he may, like I say, he's a smart guy and can figure it out if he takes the time. But the gameplay that I saw was, for Hearts of Iron 4, in my opinion, was incredibly pathetic. We'll see. I'm going to definitely, once I see him get into the war, because he's playing as the Soviets, and once he gets into Barbarossa, I want to see how well he does, and see whether he's just, grabbing these things and putting them on AI command in front and watching that, or whether he's actually, as I consider it. And yes, I know some of you do it, and a lot of other people do, is that this is overwhelming, so they do put it on AI control, and that's fine. I'm not knocking anyone for doing that. What I'm doing is I'm knocking a person who is demonstrating the way the game is to be played at such a professional level as I consider him as a game player, playing that simplistically. Not everybody needs to do it the way I do it, and I don't expect him maybe even to, now if he thinks it out and creates, this army group here and puts that on AI control and does some battle plans and actually thinks it out, then that's cool. But if it's just big glob army, theater front, go kill, I'll be disappointed if that's how bad he is. But yeah, there is a little jealousy there. Okay, as successor to Professor Schutte, or the professor, whatever, is Jorn Schnandel. We've heard of him before, involved with the STG, the Marine Technology Development Group here. This is, okay, Shipbuilding Technical Research Institute in Vienna is now subordinated to the Endesbund Deutsches Technik and Deutsches Arbeitersfront. So it's all coming in under us as well. So we're getting what's left of the old Austro-Hungarian naval research or marine research, or whatever you want to call it, shipbuilding institute down there, brought in with us, plus continued development. So for fairly big, if we want to spend the money and the supplies on it, fairly, not huge gains in any one tech really, but spread all across the board, or just if you don't want to, no need, I'm going to go yes. So yeah, so now we've got Quill 18 playing this. Just interesting. Okay, now we're starting to build up here for the conflict more so with Poland. Danzig is Deutsch, and in general speaking, I agree that the population of Danzig was German speaking. Obviously they were citizens of the Free City of Danzig, or the Free Stadt of Danzig, or whatever you want to technically call it. But they saw themselves as German, and the great bulk of those German speakers, whether they considered themselves National Socialists or not, wanted to be part of Germany. And this is an event that obviously makes our relations with Poland worse, because this is showing off, this is like a poster or a postcard from the time period, There's a lot of photos from this time period in '39 of just festoon flags down main roads in Danzig, main streets or whatever you want to say, with the swastika flag. It's both the Nazi flag as well as the German flag, and so this has obviously got to be upsetting to the Polish government, and obviously to one degree or another it is promoted by Germany. Somebody had to pay for all those flags. I'm talking not just people hanging them out their windows. It was, uniformed from light poles or whatever. So somebody, whether it's government or party money or somebody's money, is going into to pay for all those flags and other elements of it. So I don't think it was all local Danzig party money. So there's a big concerted effort in August '39 to demonstrate Danzig is German. Okay, the 38 centimeter or 380 millimeter Siegfried K. Yes, we will take that. Turn down a few of those. I may turn down a few more at some point. Bump this down. And let's see, we want to add a few more. Right now, with the units that I've got, I am absolutely confident that these very large stacks will be able to swing right in here to Warsaw and take the capital. I'm very sure that this force here in East Prussia will at minimum be able to hold out without loss of any territory. When I shift some of these forces that are still left from Fallgrün placement, as I've already shifted the small armor corps here, because they do have some light tank attachments. This, and as I shift some along here and some more up to here, I'm absolutely sure of being able to launch offensive actions here. So I have absolutely no doubt about taking Poland at the initial campaign. More or less when ready, I feel that we'll be able to muster from some of these units or some of the mountain units and whatnot to be able to take Denmark, Norway by the time we're ready there. The only real question comes down to is taking. We'll be able to hold here in France. That we will be able to do. So we're definitely building more ground units, but we're definitely going to be well placed to start 1940. So we're doing that well. Looking here at these guys, that's there. Do want to make sure though that I have minor naval builds here. Sort of in prep for the Mediterranean. No. Okay, that's good. Move that down because we're not really building the Tirpitz yet. We are building Bismarck. 42 according to this timetable, and May 41 according to this timetable. Now when I say that is because when like the Scharnhorst hits, there will be some readjustment to the positive for the practicals here, and that's in 40. So some of those coming up will help these, and obviously when this comes, it'll help that. And if I'm building some other heavier cruisers before that, it may help there too. Alright, well I think this session's gone on long enough. I know not to make them too long. I'm trying to keep them, well this has gone over an hour now, but I want to keep them preferably under an hour. But part of what I'm feeling is I want to get to the war, so I want to have the clock roll in to get there. But yeah, I also want to talk a lot too and not rush it by simply running the clock faster. So pressures from both sides. Okay, thanks so much for viewing. Again, thank you for liking the videos and thanks for posting comments. Recently been getting a lot of comments and having dialogue with you guys. I really appreciate it. Don't think I don't, so please do.